and welcome back to The Moment. It is your co-host, Meredith Lynch. It's the third night of Hanukkah. She's my buddy. Rebecca Senanez is here. She's my co-host. She's always with me. And today, I'm so excited. We are joined by my friend in real life, and now I'm going to say friend of the show, Stefanie Wilder-Taylor. Stefanie is an author. She's a stand-up. She's a comedian, TV personality, writing teacher, and co-host of the podcasts For Crying Out Loud, Rose Perks, and Bored AF. She created and hosted the late-night comedy parenting show Parental Discretion on Nickelodeon and has written 6 books for Simon & Schuster, including the bestseller Sippy Cups Are Not for Chardonnay, and her latest memoir, Drunkish, a memoir of loving and leaving alcohol. Great book, by the way. Stefanie Wilder-Taylor, welcome to The Moment.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. Also, don't forget I have another podcast, Drunkish.
Oh my God.
Because I like to stay so busy.
You do stay busy.
Seriously. 6 books?
Yeah. But over 20 years.
But still.
When you think about it that way, it's not that great.
Do you know that Stefanie is part of the reason why I live in Los Angeles?
Really?
It's actually a crazy story. So when I was in my mid-20s, I used to listen to she still has a great podcast For Crying Out Loud, but I used to listen almost religiously. Don't be mad at me that I don't listen as religiously now. You can cancel me later. To this podcast For Crying Out Loud. And it felt like having 2 big sisters because it's Stefanie and Lynette Carolla. And I just loved listening. And one day I heard Stefanie tell a story about going and looking at Christmas lights in the evening with her kids in near her house, right? And she lived in LA or around LA. And I thought I would like to live in a place where I can do that someday. I had this real thought of that sounds so beautiful to have it be warm enough that you could put on a windbreaker and walk around and look at lights. How special, how sweet. And I have to say it always stuck with me. And now here we are.
Did you find a place near you that has Christmas lights in the neighborhood?
I do. And I often walk in it and I always think of that. So anyway, maybe I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that little anecdote that Stefanie shared. So thank you for being here. We're really excited to have you. There's so much going on in the news right now. Let's just, kick it off. Unfortunately, it's a lot of rough. So that's about as joyous as this episode's going to get.
Seriously.
Let's just talk. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit. There was an absolute tragedy in LA this weekend. Legendary director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele Reiner, were murdered in their Brentwood home on Sunday. Their son, Nick Reiner, who has reportedly struggled with addiction, has been charged with the murder. Rob Reiner was also very politically outspoken. He was instrumental in fighting Prop 8. Everybody remember Prop 8? A lot of duct tape was sold during that time, which was intended to ban same-sex marriage. So, President Trump, obviously not a big Rob Reiner fan. And I want to talk a little bit about this tweet that he put up. And so I think we have a photo. Maybe not. Never mind. Okay.
I just want to describe it really quick because it's it's amazing how much this man, Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, made a horrific incident, truly tragic and out of time about him. Something that was clearly a family issue that is devastating. He made it somehow about how Rob Reiner had such terrible Trump derangement syndrome, as he calls it, that is what caused his death. And to be fair to MAGA, he got a lot of pushback. Rob Reiner seems to be the line here. And people were like, ew. But this man is unwell,
What did you think, Stefanie, when you saw that tweet?
I was shocked, but then I read some interesting articles about how Trump really kind of knows what he's doing. It's not just Trump spouting off craziness. He's got a method to his madness, and that's what's so scary. He understands how to shift the narrative to himself. Yeah. And I do think it has backfired. I mean, even the worst of the worst, I'm sure none of us are fans of James Woods. And even he was like, that's despicable. Rob Reiner was a great guy. So let's hope it doesn't do what he thinks it's going to do, which it's not.
I mean, I guess my thought is like, just look at any other president and how they would respond to like, a really notable figure passing away, even if they might politically disagree with them or have had issues with them. Like, there's a way to just come out and say, what an awful tragedy. My hearts go out to the family. But the thing that I've found really interesting is like, Trump isn't doing that like at all these days, even with like the incident in Brown, which we're going to talk about in a second. Like we're not even getting like a thoughts and prayers these days.
That's true.
No. He's done. He's just like, I don't care. I don't know. I mean, I know you guys are big Trump fans, but personally I'm not. So
yeah, that makes you a real anomaly on this show. So yeah, it's just a wild, I don't know, like it's so, it's both so jarring and so expected to me. I'm like, this is not even like top 5 worst things he's said this year. It's just so shocking. And I think Rob Reiner specifically is like, his movies are so like American, wholesome, like they are just good, kind, warm movies. And I don't think one person, even if they disagree with his politics, like it would be very hard for a person to be like, oh, his movies are not for me. Like his movies are so for everybody. To have the president of the United States make this political is just bananas.
What do you think is Caroline Leavitt's favorite Rob Reiner film?
Ooh. Caroline Leavitt's favorite Rob Reiner film. Good question. I feel like it's got to be Stand By Me because she probably like found a dead body at some point in her life, Our
guest who's coming up in just a minute is in the chat saying Misery, which I really enjoy.
Oh, that's the correct answer. I'm so excited to talk to our guest, Jodie Sweetin. But first I want to bring in, we have actually an extra special guest today. My brother, Charlie Wortman, is a junior at Brown. He has double concentrations in economics and international and public affairs. And he was in the library during this shooting this weekend. And he's about to join us now to just talk about this like now seemingly ubiquitous Gen Z experience. Do we have Charlie? Hey, Charlie.
Hey, everyone. How are you guys?
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
We have a real
thank you for having me.
MVP here. So, I felt like, this was going to be one of our hot topics anyway today, but I felt like you would know. By the way, Meredith, this is the house I grew up in. Behind
my God.
This is like a true family affair. This is my dad's office and my bedroom is right across from there. Okay. I just want to like start by like prompting you a little bit. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what this experience was like? And was it surreal or did it feel like for your generation, like, yeah, this is inevitable. This is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I do think surreal is the word that comes to mind at first. In the moment, definitely. I remember I was actually in the middle of a take-home exam in the library, and I guess one of my friends sent me a text that essentially said, we heard there's shots outside of the building was Barris and Holly, which luckily I was in the library further across campus. I remember in the morning I was thinking which library should I go to today, and kind of arbitrarily chose to go to the Rock or the Rockefeller Library, which ended up being much farther from ground zero or where the incident actually took place, which I'm very grateful for. But it definitely it was all such a whirlwind. Especially both from the moment I received a text from my friend, but then also once Brown was actually fully alerted and started sending out mass texts as an alert system. And then through, I guess, the next morning when I woke up, because it was really just a blur almost, but also very at times painstakingly slow, of course, because there were so many people that needed to be accounted for and things like that. So.
Yeah, I had this moment where, because like I got a notification on my phone and I was like, do I text him? And then I had this moment where I was like, well, I don't want to be texting him if he's in a place where he has to be quiet. Like you don't, like, what do you do in that situation? And I just want to play a little video that you sent of like what it was like to get out of that situation. Vienna, do we have that video? So like what was happening there? Like what can you just like tell me a little bit about what that was like with seeing this like SWAT team?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I was actually had started a take-home exam in that area, and they since we were farther from where the actual incident occurred, I think we were towards the later end of when the police and SWAT teams got there. So we were kind of I remember I was sitting next to someone I'd never met, but he was also working on homework in the library, and I just remember we started talking. Like, we didn't really know what was going on, but assumed that we would be informed as stuff began unfolding. And I just remember at a certain point, a bunch of officers came into the room, into the library, and on the floor that we were on, and essentially with those massive rifles, and said, like, they kind of just took us all and lined us up. We left all of our laptops open on the desk, and luckily I grabbed my phone. I was unsure whether I should just leave everything, but I grabbed my phone, which I'm glad, so I was able to text my parents and things like that later on. But yeah, so they lined us up in that kind of hallway you see there, and then we're sweeping the entire floor. There was that door there where they were kind of banging on was, I think, someone's office. It was locked, so they were a little bit concerned about that area, and were ensuring that they got like the master key to check in there. Then I think they kind of walked us down the staircase into this more backroom office area where there were a lot of other students already, and they put us there. There was of course the security guard that is normally at the library, who's not a full-on police officer. He was there helping facilitate things, and then of course just like tons and tons of police officers, and I don't know, Providence Police or other areas in Rhode Island, state police, things like that. But definitely a nerve-wracking experience of, I mean, I thought of course the most stressful thing that day would have been my final, which, as did many other people, but it was really a terrible experience, of course. But that video, I think, shows a little bit of what unfolded there.
So we grew up in Connecticut, and this weekend was also, by the way, the Sandy Hook anniversary of that shooting. And so, like, you know, like, you've sort of grown up. We have a big enough age gap. Like, this wasn't really part of my growing up. Like, we didn't have active shooter drills. Like, these incidents were just starting to happen when I was in high school, and then more in my 20s. What did you feel prepared? And also, like, what is it like? I feel like your whole generation is just like permanently traumatized by these incidents.
Yeah, so I guess that to go off your first question as to feeling prepared, I mean, when I really, since I guess elementary school, I was doing like the code reds in school, where they would say like code red drill over the loudspeaker, and everyone kind of crouches in a corner away from windows, teachers lock the doors, things like that, which of course when you're a 10 or 12-year-old in elementary school feels weird, but you're kind of just sitting there with friends being quiet, like like you're whispering to your friend next to you. Like it's while I suppose that was preparation, I don't think there's anything that can really prepare someone for when you hear no drill, like we are, like there is an active shooter or something like that. Like I think of myself as usually a very calm and
Yeah, you are.
composed person, but I felt myself like, just even though I was far away from where the actual where the shooting happened, I was like feeling myself tensing up and getting a little shaky, things like that. So, I mean, prepared, I suppose I've more prepared maybe than I would have been in a different generation if it had happened, but definitely not prepared for the actual for it actually to happen. And as far as so you're, I guess, given that, I guess I didn't really know. I guess I did know what to do in the sense of like try to stay away from windows, try not to like my phone was already on silent, but make sure people weren't making too much noise, things like that. But I guess it was really just definitely surreal. And I think, sorry, the second part of your question is kind of how I was feeling in that moment. Is that?
Well, I think we got it, and I think I guess my last question, other than do you think Dad is going to actually turn on the heat given the situation?
Oh my God.
This is my real question, is like whether you're going to get a little bit of heat in the house because of this ordeal. But my real question is, if a lawmaker was listening to this, what would you want them to know? You know, this feels like we keep doing this over and over again. Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think really it's just been, as many people have said, it's drastically, it's far too normalized in this country, and I think it's a horrific event that no one should experience. And I think I've seen these things happen across the news many times in my life, and an absurd amount of shootings have happened in this year alone in the U.S. But it's not a normal event, yet it is so normalized. And I think, and having that experience in my own community, I mean, we're both from New Haven area, like that's been my home my whole life. And now going to college at somewhere where I really love, it's become this second home, as it should be for everyone. And it's this, Brown is truly this utopia for me and so many others. And I love the campus. I love the people there. And having that happen in my own second home, my own home, is just really jarring. And I think, I mean, I've seen comments by President Trump, Vice President Vance, people in power, and they're sending their regards and respects and things like that. And that's great, but that doesn't do anything. What does something is real action. And I mean, looking over across the ocean at Australia, that shooting was horrific, but they immediately convened to see what went wrong and try to work to alter laws so that something like that would never happen again. Yet in the US, it's so accepted that things like this happen normally, that people, including the people in power, are just feel like it's in something that's unchangeable when it's not. I mean, it's really, I hope lawmakers take this event or so many other shootings as evidence of things that need to change. And I mean, I have faith that eventually it will change, but I mean, it needs real action from lawmakers across political parties. It can't just be a blue state versus red state thing. It really needs to be bipartisan.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Oh, we've got a question from oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. Sorry. Okay. Thank you so much.
So good.
Yeah, we got it. Sorry. Thank you so much, Charlie. I hope Dad turns on the heat for you, and I'm so sorry you went through this, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Charlie.
Bye. Woo. It's crazy.
And to think it's 62 degrees in that house.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know for a fact.
Girl, my dad.
How he did on the final.
Oh,
I hope he
that's
didn't
true.
have to finish it.
He was also, I just am throwing it out there, he was valedictorian of his high school and got to speak with Chris Murphy, who seems to be the only senator doing anything about gun violence. So my guess is, by the way, that he probably did pretty freaking well in the final somehow. Somehow that kid did well in the final.
Well, we have a guest today that people are rightfully so
Clamoring.
So excited about it. Jodie Sweetin is an actress, an activist, and a mom. She is an author of the hit memoir Unsweetened, which was actually re-released recently as an audiobook. You probably first met Jodie on Full House and later on Fuller House. She hosts the podcast How Rude, Tanneritos, and the comedy show Smoke Show with Jodie Sweetin, which Rebecca and I went to last month, and it was hilarious. And for our Bay Area baddies, she will be bringing the show to SF Sketchfest on January 24th. Jodie Sweetin, welcome to the show.
Hi, hello. Hope you don't need all that bedroom. Hi, everybody.
We're so excited you're here.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Jodie, the amount of people who DM'd me when we said this to be like, that woman is such a badass. Like, not only were people excited because we've watched you like for many, many years, but like the amount of people who just like respect you out there is like astronomical.
Dude, I can't tell you, it means so much because I don't, I do not go out to do any of this for like attention. I've done most of it, face covered and hat on and like very low key, because for me it's more just about my like this is what I do as a human being, and the fact that I do have a platform and that people pay attention to it and have any modicum of respect for what I say is, it means the world. I don't just talk about things, I try to actually put them into action. So
well, with that in mind, we have a little clip we want to play because we remember that you were arrested during the Roe v. Wade protests. And then you recently said—
I didn't get arrested. I didn't get arrested. The one thing I've never done is gotten arrested. And I'll tell you, it's not for lack of trying.
Wait, okay, let's play this clip because, like, seriously, like,
play this.
Not for lack of trying.
My stupid bullhorn went off.
What a badass,
right? And then
it's not the first time or probably the last that has or has happened to me. Just happens to be on camera that time. Actually, a friend of mine who I've been in the protest community with a lot, was the one who shot the video, and he was like, "Can I like post this?" Like a couple days later, and I was like, I don't. It's fine. And then it just got picked up, and I was like, the last thing I wanted was to be like, oh no, the poor white lady got tossed by the cop. You know what I mean? Like, it was just not, I was like, that's not what I was going for. But I am very much willing to put myself and my safety at risk in order to, draw attention to this kind of stuff. Because we're living in a time where rights are just flying away. So yeah.
So let me ask you this. What inspired you to get involved like this? Because it's not like you didn't wake up after the 2024 election and start being this way. And there are so many citizens, right? Who pick causes.
Yeah, I've
gone all in.
I've kind of always been this person that's like loud and is the one that's like stands up for people that are maybe different than me, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I just am always the person that's like, no, we're all just people trying to, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing to each other? But, I had kind of always been this person in high school and stuff. I would take on certain fights and challenges for some of my friends, because I grew up in Orange County and not a very diverse community, let's put it that way. And I was always the one that was like, no, we are not playing that game. And in 2020, when everything happened with George Floyd and with so much of the Black Lives Matter protests, I became really active in a lot of on the ground street protest stuff. Then again, there's a few pictures of me and stuff out there, but there was definitely a lot that we were doing that was not, out there for just for attention. And again, the things I've seen have only re-solidified my belief that the people need to stand together, because I have seen some horrific activities of the police state in this world. So
Yeah, not least of which you getting pushed to the ground on the.
I mean, well, you stand on a freeway off ramp, they do get a little testy about it, but but hey, you know what? I was a little testy about the fact that women are losing their rights and are dying because some dudes that couldn't even tell you the difference between a vagina and a urethra are making laws about our bodies. And it's really frustrating. So, yeah.
Your former co-star, Candace Cameron Bure, has a bit of a different approach to politics. Yeah. And I think one of the things, you two grew up together, I would argue.
Oh, God, yeah. So she was the closest thing I had to a sister. We fought like sisters. I mean, even when we were kids, this is the relationship we've had. Yeah, it's,
So from your perspective with these causes that you champion, what has it been like to see Candace move in the direction that she has moved?
To be quite honest, Candace's faith has always been at the forefront for her. And that's, I have zero problem. I have no problem with religion if it brings you peace and happiness. But this, I and not that, saying that her brand of religion is not necessarily peace and happiness. I don't really know. But I do know that I don't think that you can truly love people if you don't respect them. And I think if you don't respect people enough to allow them the same rights of marriage, of bodily autonomy, and all of those things, then I don't think that you can truly love someone. It's some sort of weird pity, and it's not love. And that's, I think that for me, standing up to say that, how we treat other humans just because they're different from us is completely unacceptable. And I'm pretty sure that that's like what Jesus would have said, but what do I know? I'm not a Christian. But I just like, it's funny because sometimes I'll be looking around and I'm like doing something and I'm like, I wonder how many people out here like that are doing the work right here, like actually go to church. Probably like none of it. I'm looking around the room and I'm like, I know these people. But we're trying to live the principles of love and faith and charity and help. And also, fuck the police. So it's, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. And Candace has, she didn't really want to take on a lot of the political stuff as much. She kind of tried to keep that out of, her brand or whatever. And I mean, I just don't really care about my brand, I guess, as that. Like, if there's people that don't like what I'm saying or become, are like, oh, I like you as Stefanie, but I don't like you as you. I'm like, great, then watch Full House and don't follow me online, like that's okay. You don't have to like me, but I'm not, I try not to let other people's perceptions of who I should be or what they expect me to be, put up any barriers to who I want to be. And Candace and I, we're very different in that regard. She kept a little more quiet about certain things. And I'm loud. I've always been loud. Like literally, usually microphones have to be turned down because I'm
okay, I feel that.
Yeah. Oh, so bad. Like my editor for How Rude Tanneritos, I'll be like, can you guys hear me? And they're like, yeah, oh yeah, that's never a problem.
Sure
like,
can.
Oh, okay. Must be my headphones.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm the token sober gal. Well, no, I'm not the only one. But
that's true.
Yes, but you have been very out there with your addiction stories and talking about sobriety. And I did want to say this: you and I alcohol, sober 16 years.
Oh,
Same.
congratulations.
Yeah. May 22nd, 09 for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Alcohol. God, it's been a long time since I've had a drink.
Yeah. But I was
Thank
going
the
to
Lord.
ask you, like, one of the things that I got kind of known for from the beginning was just being out there with sobriety. I was kind of accidentally outed, but then I started talking about it and I realized it helped people. And I was kind of wondering how that feels. You're out there with a lot of stuff and open about how you feel, but how has it felt to be open about, people can be really judgmental. I don't know if you know anything about people being judgmental.
Crazy.
Are you serious? I mean, none of the people I've interacted with online have ever been judgmental. I'm shocked to hear that that's been your experience.
I want to know what that's like for you to have been open about addiction and like what the I'm sure there's backlash and feedback and at the end of the day, it helps people. And I know you know that, as with all the things that you stand up for. But how does that feel? Does it help you or hurt you with, addiction?
So, it's interesting you say you were kind of accidentally outed, because I was too. I someone that worked at my rehab apparently sold to a magazine or whatever that I was there. And this was, oh my God, I was 22. This is like 20 plus years ago.
Wow.
But it all came out, and it was like, okay, I realized, was it ideal? Did I want it at the time? Was I ready to be like out there with it? No, I was barely hanging on to sobriety. I was relapsing. I wasn't ready for it. But I did know that as a person, I try not to hide from the truth, even if it's not pretty. And so I was like, well, I guess this is what we're doing now. Like, I guess we're just this. I'm going to talk about my story. And, I'm also one of those people that I'm like, I think that keeping all of these things that are uncomfortable to talk about to ourselves and quiet for the sake of, propriety or making sure that we look good to other people, I think is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. We're all going through this, whether it's sobriety, whether it's divorce, whether it's depression, pick your thing. There's so many things. And if we don't talk about it, the isolation that we all feel is the thing that kills us. And the moment that you open up and you start talking about it, I have found far more people have had a positive reaction. And like, sure, people want to come on, my page and be like, oh, you meth head. And I'm like, oh, pick up some newer news, bro. Let's go. Like, if you not read in 22 years, I mean, probably not. But, I'm like, what are you? Okay, sure.
Right.
Call me any name you want. Say I did. Like, yeah, you know what? I did. I fucked up a lot. And now, like, I've made it back. And I really like who I am. And that wasn't always the case. So, like, I earned it. And I earned it because of the stupid things I did. And I will talk about the stupid things I did because other people have also done stupid things. And I want to give them the hope and the promise that, like, this isn't, just because you sort of ground your life down through addiction, like, it doesn't mean you can't rebuild it. And it doesn't mean you have to be ashamed of yourself. I think shame is just, it's so deadly. It's so deadly. And it's so internal,
And so many
shame is what comes from ourselves.
Yeah, I just think that's such an important message, and I'm glad, even though I was outed by the New York Times, and then I was outed by Katie Couric a few years later, and I'm still mad about it. But at the end of the day, I hate that phrase. But
did you punch Katie Couric in the face? Did you do it just on principle? Did you like wait for her after the Today Show and you're like, I'm coming?
I argued with her. I argued with her on the between during a commercial break. I had a little tense moment with her.
Oh,
she's horrible. But anyway, we're live. Okay, that's okay.
Hey, Matt Lauer interviewed me for my book, so look, I can't tell.
Jenna does better,
Yeah. No, but it sucks. It does suck when somebody outs you, but at the same time, there is sort of a freedom to it. Like once I wrote Unsweetened, it was like, okay, all my crap is out there. Like, I don't care. Oh, you did this? Yeah, I did. And now, I do stand up, but I do comedy. So I'm like, I turn it into jokes. I love making fun of myself. There's not an easier target, but there's also like nothing that just sort of makes everybody relax in a room when you're like, yeah, I can make fun of all the things that like you're probably scared to bring up. It's okay.
Can I ask you guys both a question?
Yeah.
Which is, terrible week out of Hollywood. Rob Reiner appears to have been murdered by his son, and I feel like in that conversation, there's going to be a lot that comes up about addiction and mental health issues,
right.
and like, what do you think we're going to get wrong about this? Like, what don't we understand about addiction in this way? And yeah.
I think, first of all, can I just say, The Princess Bride is one of the best movies ever. Inconceivable. It is. I love that movie. I watch it all the time. It is like my sick go-to movie. It's amazing. And Stand By Me. God, he was just so prolific. Misery, just brilliant across so many genres, and just really, really talented, and also a really lovely human being from what I've heard of people who've worked with him. But it sounds, I know nothing about the family or anything, but just from a general addiction perspective, it sounds like, Nick has really struggled for a very long time. And I would say that even more so than 20 years ago, the drug supply is different now. It is very different. And it is cut with a lot more things that have a much harsher effect, I would say, on your brain and thus your behavior and your ability to be in the world. And after prolonged use, I would imagine that he was relatively damaged. I cannot imagine what led to this, but what I can imagine is that there will come a point in the future that he is sober and will fully grasp what he has done.
Yeah.
And I am not making any excuse for it at all. What I'm saying is that I think oftentimes we decide that people in addiction must be horrible people all of the time, when really they are very broken people who commit horrible acts and who then sober up and possibly realize that that was not at all who they were, and I just think, addiction is going to get blamed. I think, it always, all these, tweakers and, these meth addicts and stuff. And I just think, addiction isn't the same for everybody. There are people that are like, I'm an alcoholic because I drink 2 glasses of wine every night, but I have to do it every night regardless, and then there are the people who are like me and who are like, I'm just insane and I'm going to do everything possible. And, I think again, we have to look at this through the lens of what a tragedy addiction is. That it doesn't matter if your family is wealthy, is poor, is well known, is anonymous, is anything. Addiction doesn't give a shit, and it will affect one family just as strongly as it can another, regardless of the resources that they have. So my heart breaks for this family. I've always thought, God, there's nothing more conflicting and painful than when one member of a family kills another member. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you reconcile that? And so I guess for me, my empathy is just that entire family is changed forever.
Yeah. Last question. Meredith has a game for us to play, but my last question is
Ooh, I do love a good game.
we know you love a game. We loved going to your comedy special.
Oh my God. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for coming. Like,
Speaking
we
of
have so much fun.
Two really drunk women in front of us, but we can talk about that.
Oh, yes. They've been on the show before. They're amazing. We love them because they get shit-faced every time. And we're like, great. Have at it, ladies. Like, go for it. It's.
I do think they were cut off eventually.
For sure. Well, I mean, look, our tickets include, the premium ones, like unlimited beer, wine, and alcohol. $25. People are going to use that,
They were having a
bless them. Yeah. Oh, they had a blast.
They totally did. My last question is just like, what would you like to see done about this issue? I feel like this is also kind of one of those thoughts and prayers issues. Like, it's always politicized. Right. When addiction can be something that the administration can be like, well, we got to go after boats in Venezuela because this is a problem. Right.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on Venezuela. The boats. Oh, Jesus. No, there are a lot of things that can be done with legislation. And, again, sort of with everything else that has gone on this week, like violence and our bloodthirstiness in this country for stories of it and, examples of it is ripping us apart in a lot of ways. And, I just, I think that, again, we've tried to legislate drugs. We've tried to legislate, pushing people into treatment. There is no amount of laws that are going to replace care.
Mm-hmm.
And what addiction treatment is care. It is health care. It is mental health care.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend a lot of money on the back end of it, of fixing the problems of it, but we aren't willing to do any of the things like education, opportunities, but honestly, so many of those things that people don't think are connected to are issues of addiction in this country. If you have better economic opportunity, better education, all those things, weirdly, addiction goes down. And our country right now is not exactly, sailing forward in the education department. So
we sure are not.
It's, this is sort of a spiral that continues downward because it all feeds off of each other. So until we really take this seriously as a care issue and not as a defective person issue, and we look at it as how do we build whole people, that is the solution to the crisis of addiction. Is to build whole people before, when they're in elementary school and when they're in college or high school, and hopefully, figuring it out. Like that's how you prevent addiction, is you help those people at that time with services and a life, because it's a lot less appealing to go do drugs if you have an education and you have the ability to maybe, move your life forward. So,
yeah.
Well, I don't think that.
On that happy note, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Everyone is a winner here at the moment. But Jodie, we have a game for you, and it's called Middle Child in Charge. Jodie, you famously played a middle child on Full House, and middle children possess a unique skill set that often includes supreme negotiation skills. So it should come as no surprise that there are several U.S. presidents who are middle children. In this game, I will name a U.S. president, and you will tell me if you think they are a middle child.
Okay. Oh boy. If they have good negotiation skills, I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. Okay.
Okay. First one, Abraham Lincoln.
He was, I would say, a pretty good negotiator. So, although apparently one person disagreed. No, I would say, I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke. Too soon. No, I would say that I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes.
He was a middle child. Correct.
Wow. Got it.
President 2. President, may he rest in power, Jimmy Carter. Was he a middle child?
Oh, I don't know if he was a middle child. But see, I feel like if I say yes because he was, negotiating, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no on Jimmy Carter.
You would be correct. He was the firstborn.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. I was like, I feel like he was the oldest.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You have 3 more. Richard Nixon.
Oh God, no, not a middle child.
Yes,
Only child.
he was.
He was
a child. I feel like
you know what? It's either they are either really good negotiators or they're the people that are like, I want it all because nobody ever gave me anything.
That's what I was gonna say.
I mean,
Nixon
yeah,
was
he was the bitter middle child.
So I have to, commit.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more. James Madison.
What do we even know about James Madison?
I was gonna
Because,
say,
I'm
come on.
gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
You would be correct.
Wow.
I think he was the oldest of 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Last one.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, we're going back. Madison, we're going back. So we're going back. Large farm families. It's hard to pick a middle child in that.
It actually is with
somewhere in between 7 and 11.
Right.
Also, this was before we had vaccines, and now we don't have vaccines. So who knows how many of them died?
Right. Look, that's why we better all start having 12 children, like they're saying. Exactly. You know what I mean? Because without vaccines, they're gonna be dying.
They're all gonna.
Yeah. Well, here's your last one.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Ooh.
Teddy Roosevelt is not Frank FDR, though. That's a different FDR. Okay, was a very good, the negotiating, the brand new deal, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go with yes.
He was, and
wow, you're so good at this.
He's the first great middle child president. That's what he's considered.
By whom? Who?
Everybody.
By all of the older children, the firstborn all went yeah, that one's okay. Yeah, we'll take that one.
We'll give it to him.
Yeah.
You were phenomenal at that game. Where can our friends find you? What shows do you have coming up? Plug away, my friend.
Well, you guys can find me at Jodie Sweetin on Instagram. You can also check out How Rude Tanneritos at How Rude Podcast, which is the Full House rewatch podcast that Andrea Barber and I do because we never watched Full House, and so we're going back and watching it together.
Oh,
we just finished season 5 and are starting season 6. It's been really fun. But anyway, I'm doing that. I'm doing Smoke Show with Sweetin, the comedy pageant where we put 3 comedians through the most ridiculous beauty pageant ever.
Which, by the way, is really, really fun. Can confirm.
Yes.
Totally fun.
Thank you so much. It's really fun. We've been having a great time. January, we're taking December off because holidays. January, we are going to be at San Francisco Sketch Fest on January 24th. We have a show at 9:30 p.m. And of course, I can't remember the theater right now. But if you check out San Francisco Sketch Fest, you can find us there. We still have tickets. And then also, what else am I doing? Working with the committee for the First Amendment with Jane Fonda. I've been doing a lot of other political stuff. I'm on a couple advisory boards, so check out my page for political stuff and funny stuff and comedy stuff. And yeah, that's about it. So, at Smoke Show with Sweetin is our page for that show too. So if you want to find us.
Everyone go follow Jodie, Bay Area Baddies. Go see her next month. Thank you so much, Jodie. So grateful.
Oh, my pleasure. Really lovely to talk to y'all.
You are the
Bye.
best. Thank you.
Bye.
What an icon.
So smart.
Stephanie, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I know you have lots of things in your life that make you just our leftist queen. And can you be friends with MAGA people?
No.
You can't? You can't,
No.
You draw the line now?
I can't even be friends with other left-wing people who can be friends with MAGA people. That's how kind of extreme I am. I'm if you are tolerant of, no, I have too much at stake to deal with people who are going against my rights and my
Mhm.
family's rights. Yeah, no, I have no tolerance for it.
Mhm.
What about you?
I have to say no. And like people will come in my comments and be like, so does that mean you cut off everyone in your life who's MAGA? And I'm like, I gotta be real with you. Like, I don't have people in my life who are MAGA. My family is not
That's
MAGA.
the thing,
My
is I just don't have, but I think I've told this story on the show before. I have neighbors who are lovely people, like good neighbors, but like are every once in a while we trip into it. I'm like, oh, you're clearly MAGA. And we live in LA. And I remember when the ICE raids first started happening, my neighbor who runs a business came up to me and she was like, I'm so upset. I'm so worried about my employees. Like, and I was like, well, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? She was like, well, I thought it was just going to be the bad ones. And I was like,
Right.
but he told you, and I told you, like, I personally, I remember during the election saying like, he's going to do these terrible things. And she genuinely was like, she is a nice person. She was genuinely upset. And I was so like, that is like literally the only MAGA person I can think of in my life, because she's literally like, she might be able to hear me, like we like share a wall, and but it was so jarring to me to see her. She was genuinely upset. And I was like, well, what did you think you were voting for? Like, he was
those are the low information voters. And I just don't think it's an excuse to be like, well, I don't know. I don't really watch the news. I don't really read.
Well, that's the thing, is I'm like, I told you.
Blame them. You know what I mean?
Told you,
Right.
Like, I know because I said to you, this is what's going to happen.
Right. But nobody believes it until they see it.
Until it's happening. It kind of reminds me of, we'll get to our moments for this week. Maybe I'll kick us off, because I'd love to tell you what's having a moment for me. I, on Saturday, got to spend a little bit of time with Chair Ken Martin, who is the chair of the Democratic National Committee. I went to a creator roundtable, and
we like this outfit.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Definitely going for like a camel situation.
Yeah.
But I went in like really honored and excited to be there, but I was really impressed with Chair Martin. Like I was like, oh shit, like he gets how dire the situation is. He also gets that we need to like move in a way that is forward. And, there was one thing that he talked about at the very, very end. And so it was like, it wasn't him politicking, right? Don't be jealous. I know a lot of people are looking at me different. I am now in possession of the state of Minnesota official coin, like one of those like nice, I love like an official
coin.
Yeah. But anyway, on the back, he handed them out to us quickly. And then he was like, oh, on the back is a quote from, the first person in Congress that I ever worked for, which was former Senator Paul Wellstone. And I didn't know anything about Senator Paul Wellstone. He was a senator from Minnesota. And he told us about him just very quickly. He was like, oh, he was an incredible man. He was kind of like a Bernie senator before Bernie was in the Senate. And he tragically died in a plane crash in September of 2002. Like weeks before his reelection, right? Or like, a month before his reelection. And he I was reading a little bit about this Senator Paul Wellstone, and he was, he voted against the war in Iraq. He was like kind of out there for like progressive rights long before. And so just in passing, Chair Martin was like, a lot of what inspires me and a lot of like my values come from what I learned working for Senator Wellstone. And so like, if you have, I know it sounds so cheesy, but like, if you haven't looked up Paul Wellstone, like look him up. And it's like, we have good people in charge in a lot of ways. And we need, like, I just felt hopeful. And that's a really hard thing to feel these days. So anyway, I kept telling everybody I would share what I thought on the show. And so that's what I thought. I think we're in a really great place. I think that, we can only move forward, right? Like we can sit here and do the doom and gloom and be upset or whatever, but we also have elections that are just around the corner. And I think we have someone good in charge.
Can I go next? Because this is so weird, but you guys told me about the moment before. Mine's Paul Wellstone. No, it's not Paul Wellstone.
I was like, get out of here.
No, but when you asked me, what I felt is my moment, what's having a moment, I was going to say California. I feel like California, well, first of all, I've been a long California loyalist. I love California. I've lived here almost my entire life. But Gavin Newsom is doing some stuff right now, guys. And I was just listening to, I think, Rachel Maddow last night and hearing that Gavin Newsom is like, you know what? F this whole Trump ruining our healthcare system for, the country. I'm going to make it better. And he just hired, I'm going to get the name for you. Deborah Oury, I think is her name. She was the former CDC chief medical officer. So she stepped down. She resigned because of what Trump was doing.
Yes.
Right. And so he hired her to run California. And her whole thing is like, listen, I'm going to try to do what I can to save, to stop to bring vaccines, but to make sure that we're getting the healthcare we need. And then also, come on, Gavin's, I know it's not him personally, but all of the mock tweets that he's doing, making fun of Donald Trump's tweets are just like epic. I live for that.
I agree. I know. I love it.
You know what I'm talking about, Meredith.
I know exactly what you're talking about. But can I ask you, Stefanie, and I know this is but one of the things we talked about with Chair Martin was a lot of us were like, what the fuck, Gavin Newsom? Why did you throw trans people under the bus 9 months ago, sitting with Charlie Kirk? And so it's hard for me to separate that because I feel like that was a right-wing dog whistle. I think he's moved away from it since then. But that really does make me question him in a way that there's certain things that politicians do that I'm like, yeah, I get it. They're kind of politicking, but that really bothered me.
It is bothersome, obviously, to me. And he went through his little era where he was like, I'm going to, unlike us, he was like, I'm going to have conversations with MAGA people and I'm going to try to hear them out. And then he made a grave error in being like, yeah, I understand. And here's where we can meet in the middle. And no, that of course that's bullshit. Right. At the same time, I feel like we can't be too precious with who is fighting for our side. And, most people are kind of scared of Trump that are big people. I mean, he's running one of the biggest economies in the world, Gavin Newsom, I'm talking about. So listen, if he's not going to be perfect, he's not even going to be maybe amazing, but he's what we need right now. And we need him to be having a moment. And I'm talking about California in general and the people of California who are by and large progressive and are not going to put up with this bullshit. And I just have faith in my state of California. And this is not a joke. I'm getting a tattoo I'm getting the outline of the state of California on my forearm.
Committed.
Yeah. I almost did it recently, but my daughter was getting a tattoo and I didn't want to steal her moment. But I think I'm going to do it, I think, before the end of December.
I feel like I'm of the mind with all, there's such a, and this is the older I get, but there is such a perfectionism. We want to fall in love with our politicians so badly. And like Zoran, we want these perfect people who reflect all of our opinions and are charming doing it, and we can root for them. And the older I get, the more I'm like, listen, it's public transit. You get on the train. It might not be the perfect train. It might have delays. You might be frustrated with it, but we got to head in the right direction. And I agree. I have a lot of frustrations with Gavin Newsom. And I also think that he's look, I'm really good at fighting fire with fire in a way that certainly Chuck Schumer isn't doing,
Sure. Yeah.
No. At the end of the day, and now I've just said that twice today, he is going to fight for trans rights because it's part of having a progressive agenda. So he's not going to do what many other states are doing and eliminate trans care. And he's just not. I mean, he's not, because it's California.
I mean, that Charlie Kirk interview that he did has lived 1,000 lives already, and it will continue to, right? I mean, it's
really mad.
Right?
Really bad. I feel like a lot of people did this too, and I was really heartened by the November special elections where like all the people who won didn't have to throw trans people under the bus. And I feel like right after 2024, there were all these politicians that came out and they're like, yeah, I don't like trans people either, to try and they were like, this is what's going to get us elected. And I was really heartened to see that like Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, Zoran Mamdani, like the big winners.
Donnie, I mean, it is out and proud about being trans. No, I'm just kidding. But he's out and proud about supporting trans people. And he has proven that you do not need to throw trans.
You do not need it. Yeah. But
Right.
even the more moderate candidates like Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, like it just wasn't part of their platform. And I forget who I said this to some guest on our show, but I really hope that Democrats take that into 2026, where it's like, yeah, you don't need to be throwing like minority groups under the bus in order to get elected. You know, you need to be talking about affordability. You need to be talking about healthcare. Like, we don't need to be throwing people under the bus. And that gave me hope that Gavin Newsom will be like, I guess I'm not going to do that again.
What's your moment?
All right, my friend, what's your moment?
Okay, my moment is like a little bit more like fluffy because like, oh, goodness, is bad. But
I think we need that.
So last week we talked about the Golden Globes and we were like, who got snubbed? And we all kind of agreed that like nobody got snubbed. And then over the weekend, I saw Jay Kelly on Netflix. And I know it's like a white guy apologist show, but it was a movie, but it was so good. And I think it got snubbed for Best Picture and Best Director. I just thought Jay Kelly was like such a delightful old school type movie. And like in a culture now where it feels like everybody's biggest goal is to be famous, no matter what it is that you do or are passionate about, it was nice to see a movie that was like, hey, what if we contemplated why this is actually like a very small and shallow and sad goal at the end of the day. And I just really recommend it. And I was surprised. Like I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. And I think it was snubbed. So Jay Kelly is my moment.
Okay. I thought Jay Kelly was a guy that I went to high school with at Arlington Catholic. So that's why I was like, Jay Kelly. I think I
got a problem with him.
Right? He's a firefighter now, I think. Good for him. Good for Jay. No, but good for Jay. But seriously, like I gotta say, naming your movie Jay Kelly in a world where
I agree. They could have done better. Yes. Yeah. The title didn't really work for me, but the actual movie, it was just like a very well constructed.
Have you seen it, Stefanie?
I haven't even heard of it.
Me neither.
That's why I think it got like, it was a genuinely good movie. And I agree. I was sort of like, and you know, like it is a movie where you sort of feel sorry for George Clooney, sort of playing George Clooney. And so in that way, you're like, I don't really want to like this, but like he does such a good job of deconstructing this thing where like everybody, I don't know, like it's just a really interesting look at like the way that fame and celebrity and like all of these things that in America we put on such a high pedestal are actually, you know, kind of not even corrosive, but just like empty, you know, and it's a thoughtful movie. And I recommend it. And I think it got snubbed and we didn't say that last week. So now I know.
You guys, this has been so much fun.
Has it? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, what else? I don't know what else to
say.
Kelly. Stefanie Wilder-Taylor, where can our friends find you?
I am on the IG. Do we call it Instagram anymore or just IG?
You can call it Instagram. Don't let those kids bully you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on Instagram, I'm S Wilder-Taylor. On TikTok, I'm Steph with an F Wilder-Taylor. I also look up the podcast Drunkish. New listeners. That's my newest venture. I have had a lot of great guests, including Meredith 2 or maybe even 3 times. I don't know. I've lost count. Yeah. So go listen to Drunkish and For Crying Out Loud and Rose Pricks and yeah.
All the things.
Thank you so much, y'all. We will be back on Friday. We have Jessica Tarlov from Fox News and our pal Karine Jean-Pierre joining us again as a co-host. So we'll see you on Friday. In the meantime, stay sane out there.
America, you know.
Bye, y'all.